Why is it that every pastor, every YouTube video that talks about Samson speaks about him as if he was this crazy sinner? Okay. What I'm going to tell you here, if anything else that I've said in all my videos does not help you to realize how wrong a lot of pastors are on things they say, this will help you to start to get my points. There are two kinds of Nazarites. There is the Nazarite vow, which a person themselves take it upon themselves to make. Then there is a Nazarite who is born as a Nazarene and is a Nazarite from birth. We have two such cases in the Bible: Samson and the prophet Samuel. A person who was born as a Nazarite, meaning they did not take the vow upon themselves. It was already decided either by their parents or from God for them. So in the case of Samuel, his mother Hannah prayed. This is, I believe, in 1 Samuel chapter 1, verse 11. It's very easy to remember. 1, 1, 1, 1, right? 1 Samuel chapter 1, verse 11. Hannah makes a vow that if God grants her desire to give her a child, and it's a male, she would give him to God all the days of his life, and no razor will come upon his head. So the prophet Samuel was a Nazarite. He drank no wine. I believe she also mentioned that he would not drink any alcohol or something like that. But he was a Nazarite from birth. With Samson, the angel came to his mother, not to the father. The angel chose not to eat at their house, at Manoah's house, because the father of Samson, because he doubted. Twice he doubted. But we know the angels ate at Abraham's house because he was a man of faith. He's the father of faith, as he's called in the Bible. So the angel appears to Manoah's wife, and he tells her, please watch yourself. Do not eat anything unclean, and do not drink any alcoholic beverages or anything like that, or anything from the vine, any grapes or anything like that. And what was the other one? And no razor should come upon his head, because he will be born as a Nazarene from birth, and he will deliver Israel. So these are the stipulations. The stipulations is abstain from unclean foods, do not eat anything or drink anything from the vine, and do not cut the hair on your body, on your head or anywhere on your body, right? Because you're a Nazarene, and the hair symbolizes your Nazariteship. Keep that in mind. A person who takes up the vow, they have those stipulations added to them, and also they cannot touch a dead body. If they touch a dead body by accident, they must offer up several sacrifices, which is set out in, I believe it's Numbers, I'm not sure, don't quote me on that, but it's in the Torah, the Old Testament, of what they should do if that should happen. If a dead body accidentally falls next to them, they lose their Nazariteship, and they should offer up a sacrifice for breaking the Nazariteship, even though it wasn't their fault, right? And they should remove all their hair on their head, and if they want to take up the vow again, they can, but they must start again from scratch. This is how you know that this stipulation of the dead body does not apply to either Samuel or Samson. Because a lot of pastors like to say that Samson broke a lot of his vows. He touched dead bodies, but a Nazarite's vow includes that they cannot touch dead bodies. He probably drank wine because he had a lot of feasts and was at gathering. And he slept with prostitutes. Well, that one, you already know he has permission to do that. But let me not get into that. I already made videos on that, right? Okay. If you are born to be a one-man killing machine, will it be reasonable for God to say that you cannot touch dead bodies? Hence the reason why that stipulation was never mentioned in the case of Samson. In the accounts of Judges chapter 13 through 13, 14, 15, 16, 4 chapters. So from 13 through 17, Judges chapter 13 through 17, there are no restrictions. Well, specifically in 13, because that's when he's born, and the restrictions are given to his mother. There are no restrictions that he cannot touch dead bodies. It would make no sense for God to put that restriction upon Samson if he's born to kill. And you can't say, oh no, he had the restriction. Well, you can't say that because it's not in the Bible. So he doesn't have the restriction. And you can't say, well, maybe he did have the restriction. It's just not mentioned. But when he kills someone, he has to run away from them and not touch them. Right? When he kills someone, he has to run away from them and not touch them. No, because in the law about someone who takes up the Nazarite vow, God says that if a body dies in front of them, like accidentally, and it just happens to touch them, they've already broken their Nazarite vow. So that means that Samson, being the one-man killing machine, he's born to kill. He's born to kill. He's born to kill. I mean, I don't have to explain that to you guys, right? He's born to kill. So he's not born to not touch dead bodies. He's born to touch dead bodies. So that's one. Samuel was a prophet. He offered up sacrifices. How do you offer up sacrifices? How do you kill a sheep to offer up a sacrifice unless you kill the sheep and touch the dead body of the sheep to offer up that burnt sacrifice? He was born as a Nazarite. So the not touching of the dead bodies does not apply to him. And it does not apply to Samson. Samson was born to kill. Samuel was a prophet. He slaughtered animals to sacrifice to God. As a matter of fact, several cases, when God told Samuel to go and anoint David as king in place of Saul because he has rejected Saul, Samuel said, but what if Saul finds out that this is what I'm going to do? He will certainly kill me. God says, okay, you will offer up a sacrifice to me. So if anybody asks you why you are there, you will say it is because you are going to offer up a sacrifice to Jehovah. He offered up sacrifices. A prophet cannot offer up a sacrifice to God unless he kills the animal. If Abraham is offering up a sacrifice to God, how can he do it unless he touches the dead body that he's going to sacrifice? Samuel was a Nazarite from birth. Samson was a Nazarite from birth. Their only restrictions are to not let any razor come upon their head, to not eat or drink anything unclean, and to stay far away from the vine. This is very different than a person who is not born as a Nazarite or not born as a Nazarene and chooses to take up the Nazarite vow. That person should stay far away from dead bodies. So when Samson killed the lion, and the swarm of bees developed honey in the carcass. Well, first of all, honey is like the only food that does not spoil. There may be a couple others, but honey does not spoil. That shows you how antioxidant rich honey is. So honey is not a dirty food. And if bees can make honey out of dead carcasses, that means that they were made by the Almighty to be able to do that. And since honey is meant for consumption, Samson can eat that. And he has every right to touch a dead body. He just didn't tell his parents, because if his parents found out that it was from a dead body, they're not going to want to eat it. But it's not something dirty, because do you know how clean honey is? No matter where it's grown from, you might not want to eat it because you think it's clean because of where it's coming from. But honey itself does not spoil. That means if something doesn't spoil, that means it can't be contaminated. That means bacteria cannot grow in it. So, irregardless of where the honey is growing, it's a clean food. So, now when Samson did break his Nazarite vow, which was have his hair removed, the spirit of Jehovah departed from him, and Samson did not know it. Right? He didn't. The account says he did not know that it was Jehovah who departed from him. But if he was already killing animals, killing animals and killing thousands of Philistines, which is what he was born to do, and the Spirit of God still stayed on him, if he's eating honey from dead carcasses, touching dead carcasses, and the Spirit of God still stayed on him, then why did the Spirit of God leave him just because he had his hair removed? What? Because he told Delilah that this is the secret of my strength? No. If he told Delilah that this is the secret of my strength, and he did not have his hair removed, the Spirit of God would have still remained on Samson. It wasn't the fact that he let out the secret, because it's not even a secret, because all of Israel knows that, hey, this is Samson. He's a Nazarite. The secret to his strength is his hair. It's not a secret. Everybody knows in Israel knows. If the Philistines know, so what? What? Because they know you have hair. I'm not. Your hair is the reason why I'm with you. I'm not going to be with you anymore because they know it's because of your hair. No, it's because he allowed his hair to be cut. Yeah, it was his fault. Even though he fell asleep in her arms and she cut it, it was not because he revealed the secret that God left him. It was because he broke the vow, and he let the vow be broken. Remember, even if a person who takes up the Nazarite vow, they can't touch a dead body, right? Even if a dead body falls upon them accidentally, meaning it's not their fault, their vow is broken, right? So Samson, he can touch dead bodies, but if he accidentally lets his hair get cut, his vow is broken. If he accidentally eats something from the vine, his vow is broken. It's not any other reason. So Samson was a very righteous man. He's listed in Hebrews as one of the pillars of faith. He would not be mentioned as one of the pillars of faith, as one of the prime examples of faith. One of the utmost qualities a person of God can show is faith. He's listed in the record hall of fame of faith for a reason. No person who was constantly disobeying God and showing disregard to God's laws would be mentioned in the hall of faith. Nobody. So Samson was not that type of person. The problem that everyone is making is confusing the fact that there are two types of Nazarites. So I'll repeat it one last time and then I'll end the audio. If there's anything else I want to add, I'll just add it to the description below, because I don't want to make a second video and then use the video program to combine them. It'll just take up too much space and too much time. I just like to get it over with. So if there's anything else I want to add, I'll put it at the bottom. So the last thing I'm going to state: a person who's born as a Nazarite can touch dead bodies. Yes, they can. A person who is not born as a Nazarite but chooses to take up the Nazarite vow, the law says they cannot touch a dead body. Everything else applies in both situations. No cutting of the hair and staying far away from alcoholic beverages and anything from the vine. Yeah. Oh, and let me add this. There is no... The account starts off mostly as in regards to Samson with him already being a grown man. And he goes, the Spirit of God moves him to go into the territory of the Philistines. And he finds a woman that God incites him to be attracted to. And he tries to get her to be his wife. That falls apart. The father of the lady tries to get Samson to marry the sister. That falls apart. He goes into the territory of Gaza, sees a prostitute there. You say he didn't sleep with the prostitute. I say he most definitely did. He's spending lots of time with Delilah. You say he's not sleeping with Delilah. I say they are definitely sleeping together a lot, having a lot of sex. You say no. I say yes. The two prostitutes who came before Solomon were prostitutes in Israel. After the judicial case, those prostitutes went right back to their prostitutions. They were not sentenced to death. If they were daughters of priests, they would be sentenced to death, because the law says that they must be put to death if they are daughters of priests. If they were living in their father's house, they would have been sentenced to death by Solomon in all his wisdom of the law, his God-given wisdom. They were not sentenced to death because they were not living in their father's house, and they were not daughters of priests. They were not temple priests. They were not temple prostitutes. They were not cult prostitutes. They were not temple prostitutes. They were not cult prostitutes. and they were not sacred prostitutes, meaning temple prostitutes. It's all the same thing. All those three words are the same thing. So their prostitution was permitted, which is why they went right back to their prostitution. Samson died over the age of 40 something. You mean to tell me that he died a virgin? You mean to tell me Samson, a one-man killing machine, built, pent up with testosterone, loved women like crazy, died a virgin? He tried to get married several times, never came to fruition. He died a virgin, you're saying. So the prostitute he didn't sleep with, Delilah, he was just having long conversations all day. He's talking with a woman that he obviously is infatuated with. He's just having long conversations about God knows what, and they're not having sex because there's a law against that. Which law exactly? Which law in the Old Testament? You're going to say fornication. Fornication is in the New Testament, and fornication applies to the Old Testament. So I'm telling you, fornication does not mean premarital sex. So if you want to say it does mean premarital sex, okay, show me where in the Old Testament that fornication is described as premarital sex. There is no stipulation against premarital sex. There are stipulations against incest, bestiality, homosexuality, adultery, sleeping with a woman that belongs to another man. Any man who looks at another man's wife has committed adultery with her in his heart. Adultery. It's not saying you can't look at a woman with lust. No, it's not saying that. Yes, you can, as long as she's not married to another man. So you mean to tell me Samson died a virgin? Now, you know damn well you don't believe that. Okay, so yeah, this video is way too long, man. I talk too much. I'm sorry, y'all.